Right, good evening everybody and welcome to members of the public. I have sort of tentative apologies for absence from Tony Orgy, who's the county budget meeting is tonight. Oh, there he is, it's finished.
My God,
That's records. I February went on to +10 last year. Anyway, so no apologies there. Neil, I take it's coming later as far as we know. No, okay.
20%.
Right, thank you. So, if we move into public participation time, are there members of the public who wish to speak? Thank you.
I might be wrong on this. The bus, you mentioned the buses last time, about 7A.
Yes.
Now, I've got bus pass,
Yes.
so a lot of this doesn't affect me, apart from the fact that this county council subsidises 7A.
It does, yes, yes.
Now, if we want to make good use of it, because it's my money as well as yours, everything else, and I presume you have an input on recommendations too.
Yes.
The 7A finishes at the Parking Road playground.
Right. Yes.
I can see it really should go, as far as I can see, to make it a joined up service, eventually go past the new hospice,
Right. What's...
and then around the Warts Causeway, and go into, and I'll explain why in a minute, into Addenbrooks, up the boat patients, then round and back. The reason being that if you catch the 7A, you pay a lot more money if you actually pay, because you're going onto Rippers, then you're going onto Stagecoach, and that's £8. Where, and also I'll just say that Whippet is actually cheaper for the county, and also it should be looked at the same to people like Whippet. Look, can you, do it that little bit extra, start to make it commercially viable, at least from Sawston, not necessarily from the places further back, because we know there won't be many people, but Sawston, we've got a good population. We've also got the fact of joining it up in what people want, because I've used that service once, and I went, this is silly, because it goes to the park at night. And I know that the bus pass for old age pensioners, which I am, doesn't start till 9:30. In London it starts 24, well it's just 24 hours a day. Also the maximum you'll pay in London, for any journeys right through every 24 hours a day, if you pay, is £4.50. It's capped.
Nice.
Now we've got, okay, a smaller population, and we're not running it, or they're not running services 24 hours, but I think there could be a compromise there somewhere, like a lot of old people from the locals get early morning appointments at Admirals. Could it be possible to say, until it becomes viably commercial, they carry people to Addenbrooks early in the morning so they can catch your first appointments.
Right.
I know that's...
Yes. I'll bring Tony Orgy in a minute, because he's his county council and is probably better qualified to speak on transport matters than I am. But I was involved, I was present at a number of public meetings when that service was originally set up. And as I understand it, please correct me if I'm wrong, the reason it can't run through to Addenbrooks is because it's a subsidised service. You can't legally run in competition with the City 7, which is a commercial one. Is that correct?
Yeah, unless
Yes.
run.
Yes, yes. So I don't know whether you want to, whether you'd like to do a little
Yeah, I mean-
response in that.
looking at it, it seems to be an obvious thing to do, and it seems very sensible, because in the sense that you go into Addenbrooke's and you're using the City 7, and you're using, sorry, the 7A, you then got to get off a park and ride site in order to catch another bus up to Addenbrooke's. That is pretty ridiculous, but that's the reason why. And the route of the 7A was derived from a number of meetings of local representatives from all the parishes involved, Hingston, Hampstead, Sawston, Shelford and Stapleford and so on. And it was as a result of those meetings, there were a number of those meetings which actually decided on the route as to where it should go. But yeah, in common sense terms, what you're saying is really sensible, and it's a pity that we can't do it. You can't run a subsidised service on part of a route which is also a commercial service.
Right.
Which is that's unfortunate.
You sound like 31, which goes through Stapleford, then goes down to outside of the park and ride, and then goes on to Edinburgh, then goes on to, so that is in competition with the 7 already. The 31
no,
is another.
31, it's only the very early morning service and the very late one at night which actually goes into the city centre. And other times it stops before you get to the city centre. And again, that's a subsidised service, and the route for that was again decided following extensive consultation with all the parishes along the route.
But my point was, it goes from Stapleford to Addenbrooke's, which the 7 does. How about saying to Ribbit or somebody, right, we can't sponsor it from there on, are you prepared to do it as a commercial service from there on?
Yeah, but it doesn't go to Addenbrooke's the same route as the 7, does it? It's a different route.
Sorry?
The 31 has a different route from Stapleford to Addenbrooke's than the 7.
Yeah, that's correct.
So it's not in competition on the same route.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So, I mean, because the what appears to be common sense. I mean, yes.
I mean, I think the other issue you raised about the cost, I think City Deal is looking at cross-ticketing between different bus operators.
At the moment, it's £8.
I appreciate that, but we're also having a long battle with Stagecoach over the 2-tier ticketing system, because once you go beyond Stapleford, you have to buy a day ride bus which will take you as far as Spalding if you want to, but not much use if you don't want to go there.
I mean, I've got the prices there of the buses.
Yes,
both Stagecoach and Whippet do a very good deal from Bar Hill, but it doesn't extend as far as here, which I would think has got as many people go into Cambridge as Bar Hill has.
I mean, I think, I mean, we hear what you're saying. Parish Council does sort of exert what little influence it can in that area, but as I say, it's really outside the remit of this council. We're consultees and we can make representations, but we have no direct control over the way in which the buses operate. Is there anybody else from the public out who wishes to speak?
Yes. We can hear about the LMP closures, but I don't know if there's anything the parish council can do about it.
It's on our agenda for later on. And,
the nearest one seems to be St Ives, and I did try and contact them to register a complaint, but they seem to think that it's already been signed off and there's no point making a complaint.
I think that's probably the situation, but it's certainly possible for the parish council to certainly to make a representation. And
it doesn't make sense why they closed the Cambridge branch. I mean, even if they're closing the Sawston one, why they keep the one in St Ives open? But maybe it's the number of people.
Sorry, Councillor.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, it's a part of the growing trend for bank closures, branch closures, and we've seen it, several times already in the village, but it's more widespread.
Yeah.
As more and more people go online to do their banking, and it's just not a viable process to keep branches open anymore.
Yeah,
They're so underused.
I mean, I know that that's their argument, but would you leave a large amount of money in a faceless thing that you can't go and go, oh, what have you done with your money? What have you done with my money? But I suppose that it's just you're going to have to be a customer and just move your money somewhere else.
Yeah, it's worth doing that because that's the only thing I'll really take a note on. It's worth mentioning that the post office accepts payments into most accounts. So if you're wanting to pay in cash, you can do most things at Sawston Post Office.
Yes, I don't know whether they have an arrangement with Norwich and Peterborough, but there's, I hope they do with the main clearing banks, certainly, because so I mean it is possible, but I think I think you raise a wider issue, because I think there is a major concern about digital divide, because although most people are internet connected now, there's a small minority that aren't and never will be, and I think they're becoming seriously disadvantaged in that society. But I'll just say that for the record.
But I don't know if there's anything we can do.
Well, all we can do is to write to them, but I doubt whether it'll have much more influence than yourself. But we'll discuss that later on in the meeting. Is there anybody else who wishes to raise a point? Yes, thank you.
But Chairman, I came to the last meeting.
Yes.
About the following up earlier conversations about the neighbourhood plan. I should be clear that I'm here in a completely different capacity. Because the neighbourhood plan, of course, is entirely non-political.
Yes.
I'm here to listen and learn because I've been asked to be one of the candidates for the county council election. So
That's fine.
I appreciate hearing what you've got to say on those things.
Thank you.
Particularly want to hear what Tony's got to say after that meeting.
Right, okay. So if we can move on to declarations of interest. Declarations of interest.
Item 191, I'll cut some keys, so regarding keys, key cutting. Got that, nothing else.
There's just one announcement I'd like to make before we start, and that is we're very sad to hear of the death of Brian Howell last week. He was chairman of the English History Society, and we regularly used to see him in there. In fact, I think he was in there for about a fortnight before his death, and I'd like to send our condolences, I'm sure, as a council to his family.
If you're on declaration of interest, I've got an account in Norwich and Peterborough.
Oh, it's okay.
All right, have a minute.
But not by Monday. Right, okay. So if we can move on to the minutes of the previous meeting, I'll go through those again by paragraph. Page 1, page 106, 171, 172, 173, over page 174, 175, 176, 177 over page.
Yes, you've just gone over the page.
Yes.
You're still on 177. I think
Yes.
there's a typo
Oh right, okay.
halfway down. Next to S 0200 16cc at the bottom
Yes.
of that bit. Seconded by Councillor B.
Oh. Yes, there is, isn't there? Do you know Councillor B was?
Probably Ben Gladstone.
Yeah,
Was it Ben? I think that would sound that would be.
I think that might have been a bit.
Yes, I think it might have been. Do you recall?
This is the heart, isn't it?
Okay. Yes, okay, if we
Off
could.
the library. Yes, it was about the retention of the market. That's for the building of the
Becoming 200.
There you go.
Yes, but
Yes,
That's fine, okay, thank you.
sorry.
Okay, so we're correct. Okay, thank you. 178. I had a slight update on speed watch. Kevin and myself attended Baywood Parish Council meeting last Thursday, and one of the issues which came up there was that they had concerns about speeding down the High Street, and there was they asked if anyone was doing speed watch in Sawston, and I mentioned that Colin Groves was proposing to set up a group, so I've given him the contact details of the chairman of Baywood Parish Council, and since you're taking the lead.
yes, I have emailed, I think Stuart.
It is, yes.
Yeah,
yes,
people
yes.
have no response to yet.
Right, okay.
You're very welcome to join us if you want to.
Yes, okay. Anyway, that's
Sorry,
So-
David, just the very last sentence of the 178. It's not quite clear who left the meeting. It's done.
well, I didn't because I was chairing it.
That would be Mr. Buckner.
It would have been, yes,
Yeah.
that's right, yes, it would,
Thank you,
yes,
Mr.
that's it, yes.
Clarify that.
Okay. 179, and a letter has gone off to Heidi Allen. 180, I spoke to him. I spoke to Pat Aubrey-Maskell, and she was very interested in going, so her name has gone forward for nomination. So 181.
Can I just give an update on that? I'm afraid that I failed to submit the form, which many apologies are. I apologise already to Rob for that. I was away and I cocked up all my deadlines. Disappointing counts.
Okay, so
Apologies.
I'll leave that to sort out between the two.
Or making his
Open
own
page
batch.
182, 183, and 184. So with those typographical corrections, can I sign this as an already in that meeting? Proposed and seconded, proposed by Kieran, seconded by Neil, and all those in favour. Thank you. Right, we have a co-option on the agenda, and we haven't actually done a co-option in this council for about 7 years, so I checked the procedure with Ian Deere of PALC, and apparently once the co-option has taken place, assuming that we decide to co-opt the candidate, then he can join the meeting. So I thought it would be appropriate to bring the co-option forward to, which is item 200, to this point after the minutes. Is everyone happy with that?
We've never done it like that before.
Well, no, it's early in the agenda actually. I think last time, and I mean correct me because it's quite a long time ago, I remember they did force.
Oh no, we haven't done it like that. We've never had anybody join
We had an
at the time.
option shortly after the parish council elections last year. One of my first, either the first or the second meetings.
Yes, but that one was turned down.
But yes, we've had options.
It's not necessarily a problem, it's just,
No.
I'm just pointing out.
As I say, we have received a request, and it has been a formal check that the candidate is able to stand. So the way I'll just explain the procedure for this, and I'll say it is one that we've checked through from Capel. The candidate is Mr. Rajni Pradia, who's sitting patiently in the public gallery, and you will have seen his statement. And really, there are two questions which I think which really been asked in his statement, which I've asked him verbally and given an opportunity to respond. And those are why he wants to become a member of parish council and why he thinks he can, what he feels he can contribute to our proceedings. I'll then proceed directly to a secret vote, which we have voting slips for.
Well, the rest of us have the opportunity to ask questions.
I'd like to supplement your question.
I think if we as I say, the procedure from Capalpi is, and confirm this for you because you spoke to Ian, we then move directly to a vote after to a secret vote. The problem is that there's if there is a long questioning session, I think because Mr. Pride is still a member of the public, there is an issue about confidentiality. But I'll bow to the parish clerk at this point.
We didn't actually ask the question about questioning the candidate.
Well, I shall ask Mr. Pride, would he be happy to answer questions from council?
I don't mind.
Okay, that's fine. All right, we'll do that.
Well, I just want to supplement your
Okay, that's
question.
fine, yes. So if you'd like to make a statement, you go.
Thank you very much. As you've seen in my CV, I come from Kenya. My father was a nominated councillor during the colonial period in Kenya. He had encouraged me for a very, very long time to go and become a councillor. One of the reasons why I've considered now is that I've been living in Sawston since 1992. The family selected Sawston for the reason that all the amenities were there. Very good schooling for my children, and both Ickniel at that time, their daughter was young, and my two sons at Sawston Village College. And also the motorway was very much within my reach. Knowing Sawston, I have thoroughly enjoyed living here. People are friendly. I have not experienced anything at all. And I believe I want to serve the community of Sawston, but that's what I would like to do.
Thank you. So, did you have a question?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to supplement your two questions. Was why my supplementary that we had a little email about earlier that we didn't really resolve was why now rather than last year, less than 10 months ago at the elections. So our normal period is 4-year election periods, and we're quite close to that.
Brian, at that time, when the elections were wrong, there was a very strong likelihood that I would move to London. That is the reason I didn't stand for elections. It would be very wrong to do that when I know that there might be change of residence and going back to London. Fortunately, that is not the case now.
Okay.
That's the reason. And after the elections, I had given it some thought, and finally I said, no, it's time. Let me just make sure that I want to serve the community in Sawston and be a parish councillor.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
It's only just a statement of fact.
Okay, so yes, okay, since you've started, but Beck was actually first, but
It's a statement that date of birth 11/11/195. Should that be 195 something else?
yes, I think you should. I think we've established he's over 80.
I think it's 21.
Yes, okay. Sorry about that. Sorry, Beck.
We normally, when people come up with corruption, or if we discuss it informally with people, advise them to come along to a few parish council meetings first, to show some interest and find out about our processes. So I was interested because I don't think I've ever seen you as a parish council.
Yes, quite often.
Yes.
Whether you've been to previous meetings and what other community involvement you've had. It'd be good to know.
I have attended, this is my 6th meeting at the time.
Yes.
I'm surprised you didn't notice. The service that I've given to the community, I coached the ladies South Cans hockey team. That's way back, because they unfortunately folded. My involvement within the community prevented me because I traveled very extensively. Now things are much, much better. Children are grown. One has not left yet, trying to push it. And things are, this time factor is there. Before, I didn't have the time to go to my traveling. The traveling can be very extensive.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Well, it's a comment rather than a question. My understanding is that there's a revision of the district council boundaries which will take place in 2018. My understanding is that the district council wants to align all parish council elections with those elections. So there will be an election for Sawston Parish Council in 2018.
That is correct, yes.
I just want everybody to know that. Well, and all the other parish councils in South Cambs as well.
I think most of us will all... But thanks.
Well,
thanks for that.
You reminded me.
Okay. Right.
Could I just interrupt you, please? Ask everyone to please turn their mobile phones either off or to silent. We have.
Thank you for reminding me. I'm not usually run up during the meeting, but I shall turn mine off conspicuously now. Okay. Right, so I think you should find a voting slip. So if you could indicate your vote on this, and I'll pass them to the clerk who will count them and announce them.
That's the parcel. Where's the music?
Thank you.
Good. Right, has everyone handed their slip in? Right, this is the suspense, isn't it? Yes.
It's not like the X Factor.
I was going to say we have electronic voting next.
A majority,
Distributed is onto it.
a majority have voted for the co-option of Mr. Perry.
Thank you. Yes, and welcome to Sawston Parish Council. Before you take, if you can join us at the table now, take part in the meeting. But before you do so, you'll need to sign. If you could the people sort of shove up a bit.
He has to sign it.
But before you do anything else, you need to sign an acceptance of office form. There we are. I think it's just on parish council. Isn't there two witnesses?
Sorry?
I said you can just witness as a parish clerk.
Yes.
Isn't there two witnesses? Does it?
It's a lovely very transparent.
Yeah, so the parish clerk has to witness that, and now you're legally members of the parish council. Congratulations. Thank you. Okay, that's Right, so I move on to the now to the minutes of the Recreation and Open Spaces Committee held on the 7th of January. And again, I'll go through the minutes item by item. So, does Mr. Carvey have papers?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on the Recreation and Open Spaces
I
Committee.
haven't because I thought we were
So on page 1, agenda item 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
Yes?
Would the chair of the meeting know? Normally when there's damage to parish council property, as in this case, we ask people to pay for the work involved to restore it, and we issue fines. I'm just slightly puzzled that none of that was proposed to the Bowls Club, and I wondered if there was a reason for that.
First it says in there, and we're agents going to have a meeting with them in the groundsman, and we're going to discuss those issues.
Yes.
So, okay.
I'm not reporting about clap, I don't know that meeting yet, but we'll be taking that up with them.
Yeah, it just seems slightly odd because I think the football club, but maybe when we've done that in the past, it's been at a later stage.
Absolutely good. Yeah, I have no idea about that, but we will be having that chat.
Because that is inappropriate.
Right, so over to page 6, 7, and we have a recommendation for replacement for cricket mower at a cost of 4,000. Do we have any discussion of that? Do I have a proposer then? Proposed by Councillor.
Usually need a proposer if it's just a...
So all those in favour of that purchase? That is unanimous. Okay. And agenda item 8 is a recommendation to retain the fees for the circus at their current rate, although we did ask for a reduction. Is there any discussion of that item? So all those in favour of that recommendation, please indicate. Right, that's again unanimous. Agenda item 9, over the page, 10, 11.
Hold on, sorry, David. I think that's the proposal to purchase a dragnet should be a recommendation.
Well, no, it wasn't. If you,
Is it less than £500?
yes, it is, and it was agreed actually at that meeting to yes, because I checked that. I mean, I had exactly the same thought when I read this minute, because I recall at the meeting we did agree that because it was fairly urgent, we'd move straight ahead with the purchase, and that was agreed in the meeting.
Might that be worth?
So that was done under Chairman's action.
Might it be worth just minuting that?
We could do, yes. Yeah, I mean, I think that might be worthwhile just clarifying that for the minutes. Right, agenda item 11, 12 and 13. So with that slight modification to agenda item 10, are we happy to recommend the adoption of those minutes proposed by Councillor Reid, seconded by okay. So all those in favour? Right, no unanimous. Thank you. Right, so we move on to the Planning and Environment Committee of the 24th of January, and again by number, starting on page 1, agenda item 1, 2.
Can I retroactively just say that my absence was due to another meeting, just to replace the generic absence?
Okay, I mean, yeah.
And it's true that Rob tried to pass his apologies via me, but I haven't picked them up by the time I got here.
Yeah,
right. Yes, I mean, the procedure is it does go straight to the clerk, so we note that, but anyway, yeah, okay. 2, 15, 3.
Brought something forward.
I brought it actually, brought them forward.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we have a recommendation for the construction of a concrete entrance to the Parish Council land on Buckeridge Hill. Is there any discussion of this item?
Do we have another quote?
No, it was actually quite difficult to get people to quote for this work. I mean, I know she has written to a number of potential contractors, and I was only able to get 2 quotes for it. So I'm afraid unless we need to lay this unduly, we really need to go ahead on this basis.
Mr. Chairman, that belongs to the highways, I think, doesn't it?
Not the bit I'm talking about. I think that's actually it's not actually on the highways land, is it? As I recall.
Yes, from the road to the edge, isn't it?
I thought it was the bit just as you go on to the Buckeridge Hill land, yeah, between the gate. Yes.
Between the road and the hedgerow.
Well, I thought it was just the bit beyond the hedgerow.
No, it's not in the field, is it?
I mean, I think
as you go through the gate, you go back onto dirt.
Yes, I thought it was proposed to carry on slightly beyond the gate, actually.
Haven't we already put the hardcore down there, isn't it, to solve the problem?
We have.
What we're talking about is the bit that we put hardcore on already, so it must be our bit on, because we haven't put hardcore on it.
No, it belongs to anything off the road to the hedgerow belongs to highways.
I mean,
if you want to put a roadway in, you should seek permission to put it in. But it's got to be at a certain grade.
Does that mean the cost is borne by highways?
Well, I think no, it doesn't. I'm afraid it doesn't. No, good try.
Well, so should we can vote to approve it?
I think
conditional.
I think rather than delay it, it would be good to have a vote on this quote, and then we'll check the situation of highways.
Tony should know
Well, I don't know the details of every single little bit of land, but I mean, it's simply a phone call to Peter J. Taylor,
Yes.
the depot, isn't it?
Yes.
And he's got all the maps with exactly what land is owned by the county council.
Yes. I mean, I think Mike is right.
I mean, it's worthwhile checking up,
Yes,
I'm sure.
yes, yeah. Okay, so on that basis and subject to confirmation of the county council, do I have a proposal for this?
You don't need
recommendation?
it.
Oh, no, I don't. No. So those in favour, please indicate. We're proposing the 2,710.
Yeah.
Of course not.
So we also need to record in the minutes that we actually tried to get 3 quotes.
Yes.
These were the only quotes that we received.
Just think about other events we could have up there for spending all this money.
Well, it could actually, yes. Yeah. Agenda item 10. Over 11, and I have a recommendation to purchase a new barrow for the litter picker. Is there any discussion on this item? In that case, all those in favour of this expenditure, please indicate. Are you voting with that? Cheers. Roger and Mike, are you? Yes, okay. So I think that was unanimous. 12, 13 and 14. Do I have a proposal to accept these minutes? And a second. All those in agreement, please indicate now. Here. Brian? Oh, sorry. Yes, okay. Okay. So, if we turn to the accounts for the month, which are circulating in the papers, are there any comments? Questions? Views? Okay. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Neil.
So was that Tony that
Just Tony proposed, seconded by Neil. So all those in favour of adoption of payment invoices, thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's okay. One abstention. Okay. And did you want to abstain?
No, yeah, I can't vote now.
No, so two, one abstention, one vote. Right, so moving on to planning applications, and the first one is S276316FL, which is a proposal to convert a attached house into 4 one-bedroom flats, 101 Middle Lane. And members will recall that this site has come before us on several other occasions. The last time I think was early last year when the district council refused an application to create 6 flats there compared to the construction of 2 studio flats. The studio flats have now been taken out of that. So the reasons for objection on that occasion, I have the delegation report in front of me, if you bear with me until I find it somewhere in these private papers.
Because it's on floodplain. It's the last house on the left.
It is the last house on the left, but the floodplain is quite complicated because there was an application in 2008 for a conversion to 3 flats, which was refused on floodplain grounds. And at that time, it was in flood zone 3. It's now on the edge of flood zone 2 due to the don't ask me this question. I've tried to ask it several times, but I can't answer it, and I haven't got an answer from the Environment Agency. But the floodplain, the area covered by the floodplain has been significantly reduced. So that's one factor. Another factor is highways. Highways were concerned. I don't have a highways comment on this particular one. But highways were concerned that there was no provision for being able to turn within the site. There is a provision on the application plan, as you'll see, with 3 parking spaces, 4 parking spaces, but 3 of those are effectively end to end behind one another. So you may want to consider whether that objection has been overcome. And another one was on density. Density, I think, in the original application was something like 120 dwellings per hectare. Reducing it to 4 brings it to 80 per hectare. And the local plan density for the edge of villages is 30 per hectare. Whether you consider that a significant consideration, being bearing in mind their flats rather than separate dwellings is what's up to the committee.
Oh, sorry, Dave, I can't actually hear you at the moment.
Sorry,
There's a minimum density, but there's not a maximum density, is that right? But you're saying that this conversion would be below the minimum density?
No. The local plan recommends in villages a maximum density of 40 within the village and 30 on the edge of the village.
40 what?
Dwellings per hectare. But
these are dwellings. These are dwelling already.
It is, yes, yeah.
So
yes.
it exists, and their argument, if I've read it correctly in their application, says having reduced it from 6 to 4 makes it certainly, in fact, less or the same.
It doesn't bring it below 30 or 40, it brings it to about 80.
But if you occupied a house of that size, as it is, the number of people that are living there is not going to change.
That is an argument. I'm not guiding the committee. I was simply pointing out the way in which it was the way that the reasons for refusal last time.
Yes, it may not be perfect, but it'll be better.
Quite.
So, up to you.
Well, if there's not a discussion, it seems to me that we're going to get a significantly improved dwelling there, which has been the developers have reacted to the previous refusal and gone from 6 flats to 4, and on that basis I suggest that we recommend supporting it.
What is the parking situation down there?
It's terrible.
I mean, you would normally expect a higher parking standard for 4 flats than you would for a singly occupied house.
Yeah.
So you may want to consider that.
You're talking at least 4 cars?
Well, yes. Well, they do show 4 parking spaces on site, but 3 of those are achieved end to end, basically.
Have there been any comments from the neighbours and what they think?
I haven't seen any. I don't know whether... No.
So yes, you can see there that we're going to put some...
There was an objection to the previous application from residents in the stakings.
On what spaces?
So they're basically using the garden for parking, right? That's what you're going to point out.
We're talking about using the front for parking with a box hedge in front.
So nose to nose, or?
Well, no. I mean, let me see if I can find that site layout. Just give me a second. David referred to it. Oh, there we go. So they're talking about having 3 end to end there, the box hedge around the side, and 1 in there.
So the one at this end.
There's one at the front and in the middle.
Yes.
Yeah, but you can't park down that side because there's a ditch for the water to flow away.
They've shown that on the plans.
So that's taking this foliage away, a box hedge around the front, and then 3 and 1.
Yeah, but there's a ditch run down there under that, or it should be, because when it floods down, that's where water gets away.
Well, as I said, I haven't seen a highways comment on this particular application yet. That doesn't mean to say there hasn't been one, but it's not in front of this committee at the moment. And obviously that would have to be taken into account by the case officer at South Cambs.
So Brian's proposed to support.
Are you actually making a proposal? Sorry, do I have a second of that proposal?
What if I want to say?
Yeah, I'm wondering whether we can support it, but with some reservations about the actual logistics of parking. That seems to be the main drawback. But I mean, I don't know whether I'm just getting a funny idea of the scale of it, but it looks as though there would be plenty of room for at least 3 cars parked on the front bit, rather than trying to shunt them all in a row down the side, which is obviously going to be completely impractical.
Is that it's the hedge that they're going to...
So, yes, if I can show you the problem, Well, I mean, they're trying to prettify the front, and are talking about removing the foliage in the trees at the front there, or the bushes, and having three front to back, and another
that whole road is full of people with driveways packed with cars anyway,
It is.
and they haven't bothered prettifying theirs. I mean, was this a condition, was it one of the grounds for refusal last time, that there were too many cars parked? It wasn't.
Well, there's no parking restriction on the road directly outside town. I think they're perfectly able to park.
Is it something to do with access to the stakings?
Yeah.
Because those, if you park in the front garden, you're going to be reversing off into the stakings road, aren't you?
So as Mike just pointed out, there's a lay-by opposite there as well.
Very often there's cars in there. When I run in the morning, there's 3 or 4
I'll read the
cars.
highways objection to the last application, if that's of any help.
Yes.
Members want me to. The existing vehicular access will be used to serve the dwellings. The local highways authority have consulted on the proposal and raised an objection regarding the lack of information detailing the proposed layout plan showing the parking on the site and turning. Insufficient information has been submitted to demonstrate the proposal will not result in harm to highway safety with vehicles parking and reversing from the site. The proposal will therefore result in significant harm to highway safety. Under policy TR2 of the LDF, 1.5 spaces will be required per dwelling with up to a maximum of 2 for 3 or more bedrooms in poorly accessible areas. And the application form, this relates to the previous one, but they're proposing then 5 spaces for 4 flats. That's not really relevant to this, but I just pointed out the policy parking standard, that's all.
If we think about the parking problems at the moment, for a normal house or a drive with 3 or 4 cars end to end, and you're asking your sons, daughters, relations to move their cars so you can get one out, bear in mind that this is 3 different flats, so you're knocking on the doors, so 2 other flats to say, can you move your car because I need to get out. Well, it is a problem then.
It's never going to work, yeah, absolutely. Now I'm agreeing with you. I
Thank
can't imagine
you.
a
So
situation
I would therefore propose that we decline the application.
Well, we have a proposal for... So do I have a seconder for that first of all? So if you wish to...
With reservations about the parking? Do we
have your proposal amended. As Tony says, the parking is done.
Proposal to support, but with reservations over the
I
parking.
think we'd like to support the conversion with reservations about the
I
parking.
think if you were going to say that, you'd have to be convinced in your mind that there is a technical solution to the parking problem.
Well, that's not for us to really sort out, quite frankly.
Well,
but it did look to me as though we've had more possibility you forgot about having a little box sketch around it.
Well, anyway, sorry, Tony.
I think the parking is completely unsatisfactory. I don't think they have reservations about it. It is unsatisfactory.
I think if you feel the parking is unacceptable and you wish to refuse it on those grounds, then vote against the proposal. So
if that's the case, I'll withdraw my proposal.
Well, no, there's no need to.
I'm
vote on that. Just see how it goes. So I have a proposal that we support this application with reservations relating to the parking.
I said I want to withdraw that on the basis of the conversation.
Okay, all right.
So I make a proposal not to support.
Okay.
Just to move things on quickly.
Thank you, Kieran.
I
Can I second it?
Thank you.
So the proposal now is not to
Not to support on the grounds of
if you do not wish to support this application on the grounds of parking, please indicate now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those who wish to support it, 1. Those abstaining, 2, and those not voting, 2.
And could we add a comment about the ditch, because the ditch is obviously significant in terms of water.
Yes.
Yes, and some people need to keep an eye out that they don't fill it up and flood that.
Well, they might be doing that. It's already been done.
Yeah.
The building, you put the
photo up.
What you said about this?
Plan.
It's the plan.
This one.
That one, yeah.
97 next door, you mean?
The house itself, looking at it on the left-hand side, the back door used to be a metre from the ditch. That white piece coming down is more or less, that's it.
Garage.
It's built entirely on the ditch without permission. And that's how it got there.
So do we wish to add a sort of informative to that effect? Yes. Those who wish to add a comment to that effect, would you please indicate?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those opposing that? 1. Opposing it?
What?
One, okay. Right, so no opposition. Those abstaining, 1. And not opposing, 2. Sorry. Right, okay. Does that add up?
Is it 1 abstention and 2 no votes?
Yes. Okay.
Is Mr. Myers allowed to stay on his own proposal? It seems that it's
It wasn't a formal proposal, it was an observation. Okay. Right, so I think we've dealt with that one. Right, so the next one is application S022117FL, which is a full application for a 2-storey side extension of 18 Dale Way.
I did go and have a look at this one, and I think what's going to happen is it will square off the current extension.
Yes.
There's currently a single-storey extension which is just set back a bit. I did wonder about whether it would overshadow next door, and I don't know if we've had any comments at all, but it is slightly stepped.
Yes.
So I don't think it will cause a problem, and it looks like the improvements, because the house next door has also been extended forwards and improved, so it would actually improve the plot.
As I read the plan, the house that was potentially overshadowed was to the north, is that correct? Or, so that would not...
It's to the left. I don't know, I can't comment on that.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just trying to find my...
But it looks reasonable to me, but I don't know whether anyone else has got any comments.
Sorry, I'm just trying
These holidays
we've got the wrong...
Sorry, have I got the wrong link?
yeah, she put the wrong link in. So if I change that to 221, we can bring it up.
Yeah.
Just give me a second. 221. Right, that. Technology.
Are you proposing that we support it, Janet?
I am, yes.
I second that.
Well, it's there.
It's never worth waiting for technology.
Moving on.
Yes, I propose that we support.
Okay, do I
Okay,
second of that? So proposed by Janet, seconded by Vic. All those in favour of supporting this application. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Are you abstaining? Okay. 1 abstention and 2 no votes. I'll explain to members of the public the reason that myself and Vice Chairman don't vote is because we're Chair and Vice Chair of the Planning Committee at South Cambs, and therefore, should this come to committee at South Cambs, we would not be able to participate. Okay. Just for information, the first 4 extensions are side and rear of 6 Crampton Terrace. Which, sorry, the listed building permission for the application for the Greyhound S033417 LB. I must say I didn't see, apart from the rejigging of some of the fixed seating and sort of general redecoration and refurbishment, I couldn't see a huge amount of difference from what
It's redecoration, when they're keeping a lot of the internal doors and that.
I mean, there's no significant reconfiguration of the interior.
Getting a change to patio outside.
That's right, yes.
Putting new flooring.
Yes, I want to say two things. One is it is a listed building and there is quite a lot of internal refurbishment, although they do make the case that it doesn't affect the Elizabethan beams inside and the actual structure itself. I did have one comment from a Sawston resident about noise, and I noticed when I read through the papers there were quite a few points when the author said we're doing this and that to try and minimise noise.
This is noise from the pub rather than noise associated with construction work.
No, I think it's noise from the pub, disturbing residents nearby, and whether I suppose the paving outside will encourage more people to go outside and therefore be an issue, I don't know.
Well, there is a beer garden, I mean there has been for many years.
It may make no change at all. I just brought that to the table because that was a comment that a resident made to me about it.
I just want to point out as well, because I think there's a bit of a myth that you're allowed to do what you like to the inside of a listed building as long as you leave the outside the same, and that's not actually true. What the heritage people are generally bothered about is the original fabric.
Exactly.
So what they don't like to do is muck around with the beams, and if they're doing things to floors, I assume they're probably same as the rest of us taking up grotty 1970s floors, replacing them rather than hacking up to the timbers.
Well, it was originally probably just had flagstones anyway, so or even an earth floor. So I think Okay, so so proposed by Bob. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Alison. All those in favour? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in favour.
I'm going to abstain.
2 abstentions and 2 no votes. So the next item is for information that the first floor extension of the side and rear of Crampton Terrace that we discussed at the last planning committee is going to be withdrawn. So that brings us on to agenda item 193, which I think we can probably combine with 194, isn't it?
Yes, please.
That's correct, yes, okay.
I'm declaring interested as a member of the board.
So basically we've received a letter from Jonathan Culkin at the Village College asking us whether it's possible to make our parking area on Spices, this is a hard standing on the other side by the pavilion, available for contractors' vehicles during the construction of the hub. The construction period will run, I think it's currently scheduled to run from the 18th of May until the 23rd of December this year, so it will be that or almost completely spans the cricket season, the first part of the football season. I have discussed this with Joe and also Adam, and I think they have considerable reservations on the grounds that there is quite a lot of cricket going on during the week, and also there are hirings of the. Did you want to come in at this point? I think you've got Joe's statement there, which I don't actually have there on my person.
Yeah, well, she just wanted to point out that there are 20 parking spaces at Spices. We do have regular users of the pavilion, and although they might only be there for an hour or so, they're paying for the facility and they're paying for the parking as well, and so the parking should be provided, and we're not clear how many contractors will use the parking spaces. There will be cricket on at the time, and sometimes they do book matches at short notice.
So isn't this just during weekdays though? This is just during the working week. Cricket matches are at weekends, aren't they?
They start
every day.
So you've got the bowls club as well, because they're taking their parking space, so the bowls club will be parking there as well. Games to.
Yeah, she's written that. It'll also be the bowl season, and also the Christchurch have the holiday club there in the summer holidays, so there'll be parking associated with that. And also the funerals have the car park opened up for them as well, if necessary.
Was Jonathan not saying that in the summer holidays the issue of the parking in the school grounds wasn't a problem?
Yeah, so it's only out of term time.
It's out of term.
Sorry, in term time is when we did out of term they can park on the school.
So 6 weeks of July and August it's all right. So it's only outside of that we need a solution.
And Alan was also concerned about the lack of care that they may take, because, you know, the best will in the world, I don't, you know.
But that could be said for anybody.
Well,
there's still shortcuts across the cricket square.
But it would be more difficult to cordon it off.
I just relay
Can't
that.
sort it off when they're marking the overflow.
I'm just really concerned about anything we do to obstruct this, because they just really need to get on with it, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's fine to come up with, to refuse this, but we would need to give a sensible alternative for where those other 10 cars could go.
Do we know how many cars are actually involved?
10. An average of 10, according to John.
So,
can I just sort of give you a little bit of background? I mean, the planning application's been put in. I've been contacted by council officers to say that working towards making a decision, and are Dave and I happy for it to be done under officer delegation, which I'm sure we would be if they were thinking of approval. But this constructors' vehicles parking is one of the outstanding issue, really. And it does need to be resolved as a condition before any work can start. So it is quite key, really.
So,
sorry, two speakers.
When are you going about build this community? Yeah. First thing I said, where are they going to park? You turned around and said, no problem.
Yeah. Well,
you said there was no problem with park. Now there's a problem for park. Fellas mentioned this long ago. How come they've just realised they've got nowhere to park now?
Well, the parking was going to be in the area on the village college, just to the left of the building, where there's present car parking for the village college. So that was the original situation. But then the village college has got a one-way system where cars come in at the far end, round, and then come out there, and they're worried about vehicles coming out of the village college, while contracted vehicles would be going in the other way to access that car park. So that's why the village college is not happy about down there.
But that's not what this email says, Tony. No. So this email says that Jonathan Colkin's concerns are for safeguarding reasons, because there's nothing to stop the contractors taking an extra minute and a half to drive around the one-way system and park at the extremity. That's no reason why they'd have to drive in the opposite direction to that.
I'm not really. I'm not.
That's what his concern was supposed to be.
Yeah, well, as I said, I find it difficult to believe there's a significant safeguarding situation here. But anyway, Janet.
Yes, I think I was going to echo that, because you're right, the way the traffic flows through the Sawston Village college site is a one-way one. The other thing I'd say is there is a lot of traffic that flows through the site at the beginning and during the day, for instance, to the sports centre. So I don't see why there's an additional safeguarding issue, particularly if the contractors are only going to be going in and out at 7:30, 5:30, which is outside school children's hours anyway, mostly, and there are enough cars parked there. I would have thought they could absorb an extra row for 10. The other thing I was going to say about safeguarding is the same could be said to apply for the Spicer site because of the users of the pavilion. And just as a third thing, I'd be concerned about whether the parish council has any liability issues for cars parked there.
I think there is a sign that says parking around.
Yes, but that may not have legal weight though, because there's a lot of. Yes.
That's quite for everybody, regardless whether they're contractors or not.
I've just raised it as a question.
But the issue is it going to be more difficult with, sorry if I interrupted, essentially is it going to be better to have more congestion with more traffic going, potentially when there are kids around?
No, they are, because it's 7:30 and 5:30.
Yes.
In which case, that sounds like it should be. Okay.
So go on.
I was just wondering whether the notes we had about when cricket was being played in term time, which is when he was talking about,
yes,
was relevant.
Yes.
Because I wasn't sure that we were talking about cricket matches and so on and sports events during the summer holidays.
Well, yes, I mean...
Or whether you were talking about during the term time. Because it seems to me, during term time, the number of activities on the sports field are relatively low.
Well, there are county games played on there.
There's May through to the end of August.
I mean, as you may be aware, it's one of the 3 county level grounds in the county.
8 county games going on this year.
Sorry?
8 county games going on this year.
Okay.
Has anyone talked to the cricket club about it, if they're going to be the people most affected?
And these are daytime games?
They're generally pretty community-minded. I'm not sure that they'd be wanting.
And then you want to talk about you've got the women's cricket.
That's fine. I was just trying to make sure we were talking about the same thing.
What's the number of games that are going to be affected overall? You said 8.
Well, you've got 8 county games that are going to be going up there.
8 county games.
Then you've got female cricket going up there, and then you've got the Sawston Cricket Cup's own games, and then you've got the youth that play up there. So, generally speaking, there won't be a day of the week that pitch will not be used.
But they're all fit, healthy, sporting people who could conceivably park 5 minutes walk away.
Yes, but where?
But where? Why are you asking somebody else? It's their facility. They're paying for that facility. Now you're asking them not to park on their facility. That's
because
not
it's
fair.
in order that we can get a hub built that will benefit the entire community, not just people who play cricket.
So if the cricket club, as a scenario, came back and said to us, OK, we're prepared to do this, but we want our fees dropped, would you vote for that?
Yes.
Oh, OK.
Mr. Chairman, I can't understand why all the argument over the parking. There's a redundant building down the village college there that the house ending used to have, where it housed all the contractors' cars in a compound on road.
Because I was going to ask the same question about the parking
when the owls were.
So
Have they moved out then?
That was promised to the Army cadets and then it was rescinded.
Yes.
Because the Army cadets have gone to the
ATC.
And the ATC are going over to Ducks.
That's right, yes.
But the question about what's just been suggested, would the school be happy with that? No. I guess the answer could be no.
Is the safeguarding because of strangers wandering around the school grounds? Is that what the safeguarding
I think that's the general idea. No, the general gist of it is that he's worried because of the children's security.
But there's people going to the sports centre day in, day out without let or hindrance. And indeed there are mostly spare spaces there. In fact, I would guess, on the basis of me going there at lunchtime, for example, which is a very busy period, that even at lunchtime during the day, there are 10 spaces at least spare every day. So I don't know what the difference between people that are non-checked, members of the public who can just turn up and use the facility there, and others.
Right, so do we want to make
contractors?
Because the construction's not starting until May?
18th of May, I think they're actually on site.
It's got to be resolved.
Yeah.
They're going to get it all tied.
Go back to Jonathan Colvin with this suggestion, because there is that area there which has been mentioned, and based on the fact that we've gone over quite a few of the same arguments again and again, we need to do something. I think if we approached him about that area...
I think before we did so, I think it would be helpful to have some guidance from this meeting as to whether we're prepared to accept his proposals in principle, and if we are, then we have to go back. I think that as is this is the way we're going to have to deal with this.
Yeah, the other thing that strikes me looking at this after again is that if the contractors are working from 7:30 till 5:30, then they're going to be walking to and from their vehicles at around 7:30 and 5:30, which is outside of the college hours anyway. So it really...
time. Or,
Yes, I would imagine that.
yeah, so that may well be an issue both for the school and for the parish council as well.
But then,
Because children go.
but then as Brian was saying, it is an open site.
It's an open site, and 10 extra people. I mean, is an option getting them DBS checked?
Well,
I know this is. I'm sorry. I know. It's just, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
If there are regular people.
Has to do with the movement of traffic.
No, well, safeguarding is more to do with...
I realise,
Yeah.
yes, but that's what I read it about, because that's what this is about, isn't it? That's what the email is about. It's about parking.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
I think we've probably discussed this at some length now, so could I have a proposal, one way or the other, please?
Well, I'm not sure we've got something substantive to vote on.
We have. I mean, the substantive thing to vote on is whether we not give permission for the contractors to use the
pavilion.
The parking spaces by the pavilion. Yes.
Do we want to propose that in order not to hold things up any further and to avoid the risk of actually losing the funding for this altogether, the county council find something they'd rather spend their money on, that we vote that we will allow the parking outside Spice's Pavilion, and we try and negotiate with the college to find a better solution.
I think if we've made that decision, then we've made that decision. I think that there's a further negotiation will not realistically not take place.
I think I agree with Beth. I mean, it's May, we haven't got long to go. It's all going out. But they've known about parking since they've wanted to do this, and they've done nothing about it until now, the last minute.
But we should just take it as read that they've been useless and should have thought of this beforehand, but we have to...
Yeah, but they're not told about it, Beck, and they've done...
I know.
That situation can't be changed, unfortunately.
No.
So, based on that, I would say that we go against it, but suggest that due to everything from Brian's suggestion for DBS checks, if necessary for the workmen, the fact that there's the hour parking available,
and it's an open site.
Yeah, exactly, it's an open site.
So, are you making that proposal?
Is it better not to take a decision? Because if we take a decision now, we can't go back.
We take the decision and we go back to John Colby saying these things.
So can we make a suggestion, Chairman, that what we're saying is that using the pavilion car parking is our least favoured option because of the problems that it
that's not what we're saying.
Can you say what you said again? Okay, well, basically, what we're saying is we understand that parking is an issue, but seeing as the pavilion parking is going to be used quite so frequently, and based on the fact that it's an open site, there is parking available, we will reject what John Colvin has suggested. Also, because it'll help.
Well, the only thing that Beck's saying is that if we vote on that, we can't go back.
So if they come back and say, in that case, we can't get planning permission to do the bill, everything's sorted,
Yeah.
we'll find something else to spend out on.
That's the danger of your proposal.
In which case, we amend that.
No, we can't change our minds for 6 months.
No, we amend it in the proposal, so we say we probably...
Which is what Ryan was trying to do.
Sorry, but I don't like this being blackmailed. I mean, it's 10 cars. 10 cars can park on roads, they can park down Church Lane and walk up to the village college. There's plenty of other options in the village. I refuse to believe that the whole thing will collapse because we can't find parking for 10 cars.
When we had a meeting with John Goldberg, he complained about that area where the houses on the front tend to park in that square.
Yes.
If you go down by the Marvin Centre, you go about 50 feet, 50 yards, there's a car park on the left.
Yes.
I'm just suggesting those teachers move down to the leisure centre and park for the day, and you probably offer the contractors to park there.
That would be...
Yes.
Honestly, that's the way it is.
Yes, it is, yes. Well, we thought that was what was the original...
Well, I thought that's what was being talked, because we did talk about it in the meeting when we were there.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes,
Well, that's what John Cochrane's indicated the county council is not acceptable to.
Well, he has changed. I think he's changed his position on this actually from what was discussed earlier.
I'm not thinking very sensible, but yeah, sensible.
So, well, yes, I think
There's an option?
Yes.
It seems to me that the obvious person that we ought to be talking to this about is John Colvin.
Yes, yeah.
And when have we got a planning meeting? Could we take this? Could we defer this to a planning meeting and invite Jonathan?
We need to talk to them. I think it's worth having a chat to the cricket club as well to see just how many vehicles they expect for their matches and how amenable they'd be to finding somewhere else to park.
I mean, I have sorry,
yeah, if I could just come back on one thing, the county council set its budget this afternoon and the 1.3 million is in for the Sawston Parish. So now we don't need to worry about that, we just approved that as part of the proposal. But you've said that at the beginning.
So I think
the planning permission for the temporary library has been extended and goes up to the end of 2018.
Yeah.
So we don't want to delay a building library any longer than necessary. So we need to sort this out.
Costs will rise.
In which case, the next planning will get John Colvin for the next planning session.
I mean, the next planning committee is only 2 weeks' time, actually. If you're happy to accept that on your
It's going to be more practical, so what Brian is suggesting will be more practical.
Which is?
The planning committee.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
So we can have a discussion and a compromise at the same time.
But you can arrange something and bring the meeting forward, can't you?
Yes.
Soon as you make arrangements with it, notify all the parish council, we could all come to a meeting.
Yeah.
And pass it.
Yes. Okay.
Once it's all agreed.
Yeah, that was just a question. Could we delegate this decision to planning committee?
I think we could.
Officially.
Yes. I think so.
Well, John's proposed that and I'll
So,
second it.
I suppose
Let's do that through a motion of council.
Yeah, so can I propose therefore that the decision be delegated to the planning and environment committee?
Seconded.
If the chairman of the planning committee is happy to
Yes,
accept.
I'm quite happy,
Okay,
yes,
fine,
yes.
okay.
I think we've listened to all the arguments, so we will take that down into account.
Okay, so are we voting on that?
On delegating
Yes.
to the planning.
Yes. Okay.
Not take part in
Can we
any.
count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Yes, okay.
13.
Yes.
I'm not voting for the
Okay, so that's actually,
Did you vote for
yes, I did. Yes. So I think that's so we'll take that to the next planning committee and invite Jonathan Colvin to attend.
Well, I think we said we talk to Jonathan Colvin first to make sure that he can make the days and we'll find a day. Unless we can discuss it.
Yes. So if we now move on to agenda item 195, which is the closure of Norwich and Peterborough Building Society, which is what some people in the public gallery come for. I think what we're facing here is effectively a fait accompli, because I think that there will be no harm in making the views of this parish council known and writing to Norwich and Peterborough deploring their decision. I'm not saying that it will have any effect whatsoever, but I think that I think that I'll be reluctant just to be seen sitting sort of accepting it.
When are they proposing, David, to close?
I just have to
August, did you?
Yeah, I think end of August they're closing the current accounts
Yes.
and around that time
Are they a mutual society? Or
Yes, they've just been bought by Yorkshire Building Society.
Yes, they have. Yes.
Oh, if they've just been bought by Yorkshire Building Society, then I was checking details of the post office. The Sawston Post Office accepts payments in for Yorkshire Building
Oh, it does,
Society.
right,
So
okay.
NP is owned by it. Then
I think there are
accept
two issues. They're closing their current account. And lots of people took out an N&B current account when Barclays closed.
They did, yeah, that's what I did, yes.
So that's closing full stop. And then they're also closing a large number of branches.
Yes.
Well, so I propose that the chairman write before the decision to lose an institution.
Are we all, is everyone agreement?
Like
I don't think that actually counts as an interest because it's so
I'd be happy to support.
So that was you now.
It's a majority.
Right, so we now have 3 grant applications which have been before you. The first is the Summer Reading Challenge at Sawston Library, which we have supported for a number of years. And I think they're asking for 150.
Yes, could we support again? Because it seems
Okay. So no further discussion, I'll move straight to the vote. So all those in favour of supporting that, please indicate.
Again, I've got an interest.
Okay, it's county councillor, yes. So, Tony Rogers, yes, but that was due to his interest. I wouldn't want to indicate if he was not supporting of it.
Yeah, when I presented the certificates in September last time, the meeting time, I was able to thank Sawston Parish Council for his financial support.
Yes, okay. Sawston Fund Run, which again we have supported. As members will recall, the reason for the original request for funding was when it became necessary to pay the road closures, which is effectively essential for the fund run to take place. So.
I'm happy to second that.
Sorry, who proposed it?
Just before. Yeah, so I had a proposer and a second. So all those in favour of granting that? That is unanimous. Okay.
Do we get a little bit of publicity that we support?
We do. Presentation as well.
Okay, so they now have a new request, which is from Sawston Senior Citizens, for up to £300 for various to basically support their activities, which I think seems to be mainly from coffee, catering,
and a Christmas lunch.
And a Christmas lunch, yes.
Chocolate shop prizes.
Yes, I just want to make a comment. And possibly happy to propose. Yes, I really support this. I think we should be doing things more for our elderly people in Sawston, so I really do support this. I just wanted to ask about this issue of the payment of cheques, and do we need to check that they have their own bank account? They do. Okay, that was my question. Okay, in that case.
Sorry, Beck and then Brian,
I have a couple of reservations. One is that I've never seen this group advertised, so my concern would be if it's a little group of friends. I've not seen any sort of general invitation to the senior citizens of Sawston to come along to it. So I'm a little concerned that it seems a bit like a private clique. I also thought the amount of money requested was somewhat disproportionate. I would like to know how many people are in the group, but compared with the amount that the fund run are asking for an event that benefits a huge number of people in most of the village, and that reading challenge are only asking for £150 or something that benefits many of the children in the village.
I can't cope with all of it.
Rather huge amount. I'd like to know more about the group and its activities.
Okay, Brian and then Joe.
No, sorry, Joe.
Sorry, another query about it. I've just noticed what it's for, the rent, and that reminds me of a query I was going to raise. Do they actually meet here?
They do, yes.
So aren't we voting money to be paid back to ourselves?
Yes.
Do we need to kind of... Yeah, in that case,
if they meet here, do we know how many people are in the group?
Between 10 and 12.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if we can actually vote money that comes back to us, whether the government or we can.
Well, if they met anywhere else, you pay them then.
Yeah,
we're just a facility for them.
It says somewhere in our...
Does they advertise at OWL?
Yes.
Yeah. And they told me they used to be in Sawston Seal in the diary events, and whoever used to do it dies.
Well, doesn't prevent somebody else.
No, I know.
I mean, sorry, Kieran.
I also think they decided not to answer the question about number of residents and direct benefit.
They are all residents.
Indeed, but I kind of think on principle that we requested this information from everybody that we request grants for a reason, and I think that almost on principle, we ought to go back and
Get more information.
yes, turn this particular application down.
Defer.
We ought to tie it down until we have a better application, because again, describe the overall aim of your organisation and the activities or services it provides. They have simply said that they meet on Wednesdays between 9:30 and 11:30 a.m.
My concern is if you turn it down, I'm not sure that we can constitutionally reconsider it for another 6 months. So,
but would they not be making a different application?
If you felt that it was incomplete, I think probably
It'd be best to make it incomplete and defer it.
Okay, well,
to defer it and ask them for further details.
but also I think we should. Well, if the feeling of the meeting is that the amount doesn't, that the amount of money they're requesting versus what they want to spend it on, there's a mismatch.
There is.
Well, if you bear in mind, it says anything would be welcome, thank you, and then 300 quid is an afterthought.
Yes.
So I think we need something more specific and to ask them what they will spend the money on specifically.
Yes.
And so in proportion as Beck said.
I was going to say maybe we
biscuits there,
help in resubmitting, because these are elderly people.
Yes.
So can we help in
I think we can do that. So what I think has been proposed and seconded is a deferral.
I'm sorry, who's seconded?
I think Kevin seconded it. So all those in favour of deferral to give us a chance to go back to them, ask for further details and a clearer indication of the customers. Okay. Those against deferral? 1, 2, 3. Okay.
3 again?
Yes.
And everyone else for? Any abstention?
Right, so that is deferred. Okay. So agreements to dates and meetings for 2017-2018 it should be circulated. If there's anything which leaps off the page there, it seems pretty
March 17th.
about it.
That's not there.
Oh, isn't it? Oh, right, okay.
Focus with this starts in April.
This is the next cycle. This is the 2000. This is from May 2017 to May 2017 to 2018. So it's the next civic cycle.
So your March one, isn't it?
Yeah. So
It's wrong on the list. We've still got 4 on the list. 4 meetings a year.
Yeah, you should
be down there.
This is from May to April.
Yeah, it's May to April.
Yeah, so there should be 4 within the cycle, actually. Yeah, there should be 4 within the cycle, I agree. Let me just have a look. So we've got June, November, and March. So when else did you meet in this year?
Yeah, but we've got March next year.
We've got March next year. So yes, but it doesn't start till May. It's May 2017 to May 2018. It's the civic cycle. Did you meet in September, for example?
Hold on, I'll find the calendar of meetings for this year.
Part of it, yeah.
That's on the website.
I thought there were 4 cemetery meetings in the cycle, but I may be wrong. Well, yes, I'm your chairman, so you should have.
Should be on the website.
Sorry, while Kieran's doing that, the annual council.
Yes.
Something. Is that the first meeting? That's the first full parish council of the new cycle. So yes, when you elect chairman and vice chairman. And we don't refer to the annual parish meeting in this itinerary. We do, yes. That's the one. That's the big thing. That's a big one. Yes, yeah. But that would be.
But is that the first one of the cycle, not the public meeting?
The annual parish meeting is always the first Tuesday in May, which this year is May the 7th.
So that's
the big heading. Yeah, that's the public one. Yes. Yeah.
Just going back to cemetery, we only had 3 meetings this year.
Oh, did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's exactly the same pattern.
I mean, if it were necessary, it's always possible to call additional music. Right,
Have you found it, Kieran?
Yeah, we only had 3 this year.
Right. Okay. So with that query resolved, is everyone in favour?
There's something that says annual council, which is missing.
Yes, annual council is the first full council meeting of the new cycle. It's when we elect chairman last
So
year.
what's it called annual council when it's not annual?
It is annual. It comes at the beginning. It's the first full parish of each cycle. So it's always the second Tuesday of May.
That's the first meeting of the municipal.
Yes, it is. Yes, exactly.
So anniversary meeting and an annual meeting.
Oh, no,
There's a technical.
It is, yes.
It's a technical term.
If you look at your standing orders, you'll see this one. Okay. Right, so with those queries resolved, is everybody happy with this programme of meetings?
Yeah.
We better have a clear show of hands. Okay, right, okay, that's in those.
I've asked the clerk if she'll move the annual parish meeting up to the top of the list before she distributes it.
Okay.
Clarifies it, doesn't it?
It does.
Yes. I think I would also put the word public in there because I think it's quite confusing for people that we have to do annual meetings, one of which is public and one of which isn't.
Okay. Right, so
well, they're all public. No, that one's more public than others.
Well, see, I mean, the technical term is the annual parish meeting.
Leave it as the annual parish meeting.
Can we now move on? Because I think everyone...
Well, it's interesting what Mr. Chairman, it's not actually a council meeting.
No, that is true, but I think it should nevertheless be advertised on the cycle.
For sure.
Yes, yeah, okay. Right, can we, item 200 dealt with. Item 2201, the electrical surveys for Office Mill Lane and Wilson Way Pavilion. Andy, you have some quotes for us.
Yes. So, 880, 391, 320 and 720.
327.
So are we sure those are the same specifications? There does seem a huge discrepancy.
Joe said you would say that, yes.
Right, okay then. So,
is the cheapest one somebody we've used before and are happy with? Because it often seems to be the case that it's that way.
They're not.
So can I have a proposal, Tony?
Can I just ask that if one of the quotes is for my brother? If it is, I'll have to...
Well, but if you don't know whether it is, then you don't need to declare an interest, do you? If you don't know which it is, you can vote freely.
Yeah, so you know you're blind, aren't you?
Okay.
That's why we do it this way, isn't it? So nobody has to...
So, okay.
So propose to accept the cheapest, unless somebody already has?
No.
Unless there are any other factors involved.
So are all those in favour of accepting the quote for 300?
Oh, sorry, who seconded?
Kerry seconded.
I will.
Kerry actually seconded.
Oh, okay,
Yes, yeah.
sorry.
So all those in favour, and I think that's unanimous. Thank you. Appointment to the internal auditor, and I think we have the. Do we have the?
Right. We've looked, or Joe tried to, well, she did contact other auditors other than LGS who we had last year, and they're all too busy. They've all, they've got full books, and so they don't want to take anyone new, so they don't quote. So it really is about accepting our existing auditor. Their fees are remaining at £35 per hour at a maximum of 12 hours.
Propose to accept as we think an alternative.
I'll second that. There you go.
All those in favour, please. That's unanimous. Thank you. So 203 is the annual request from the Sawston Free Church to have an Easter sunrise service on Spices, which we exceeded to in past years.
We have. I think we generally remind them that they can't take dogs there, but admire their fortitude in getting up at dawn. Sorry.
So it makes our dogs bark.
Right,
I think anyone going up there.
Well, they're subject to the normal regulations of using that area, which is they have, yes, yeah. So proposed seconded.
Oh, who proposed?
Rob proposed, Deb seconded, Beck seconded. So all those in favour, please. So that is approved unanimously. So the printing and delivery of the chairman's report, and we have quotes for that.
Bear with me a moment. Okay. For the printing, there are just two quotes, 251 and 425. For the delivery, two quotes, 215.25 plus VAT, they're all plus VAT. 162.50 plus VAT, but that's if it's delivered with the Sawston Fun Run leaflet.
But I think it was still cheaper even on that quote, wasn't it?
Yeah, without the Fun Run leaflet, it's 189, that same one, £162.50 or 189.
So, do I have a proposition?
What's the timing like between the fun run leaflet and when you're...
I think I'm not sure. I'm designing both of them, so I suggested that we might be able to get both of them together. But I think everybody's still deciding about it. But it's still a cheap quote for delivery.
Oh, it is. Yes.
Together as they look
Yes. Okay. And I think the fun runs usually about the last Sunday in April, sorry, isn't it?
But I think they like to send their stuff out quite early because they want people to book early and start getting sponsorship.
Yes,
so I think they're...
I mean, the two events are only about a week. I mean, if you're...
Yes, the fun run is the 14th of May.
Right. Oh, is it after? It's May, is it, this year? Yes, okay.
I was just wondering about producing a chairman's report before the end of the year.
No, we do. It's the end of the calendar council, and it's sent to all residents ahead of the annual public meeting.
Yes.
It also announces the public meetings.
Thank you.
Yes, it's been written in Beck's current formatting, and so the ready to go to print.
Can I just ask which printers we use for quotations?
I'm not sure what you can actually. I think we have to.
I know a good one that I should have recommended, but perhaps we've got one of them anyway.
That's probably maybe, yes, okay. So we have a quote for, I'll take those separately. We have a quote of 251 and 425 for the printing. So, so all those that proposal. So that's proposed by Beck, seconded by Alison. So that's unanimous. And the 16250 stroke 185 186 quote, wasn't it?
189.
189 quote for delivery. Do I have a proposer and a seconder? Proposed by Neil, seconded by Alison. All those in favour? Thank you. Right, so we were expecting a representative from MPC to come along to discuss in very general outlines a proposal for a service station on junction 10 of M11. They don't appear to have turned up. So I can't.
Well, they were going to Whittlested first.
Well, I obviously can't do. I obviously have to pass on this item. If they turn up before the end of the meeting, I'll bring them in. But if we move on now to Councillor Cooper's report on John Huntington's.
Thank you very much. Just as a quick reminder, I'm a trustee of John Huntington Charity. I was nominated by the parish council, so periodically I'll come and give a quick report. So these are some stats for the year for 2016. We saw over 300 clients. We gave out 230 bags of food and delivered 65 hampers before Christmas. We've given more than £1,000 of Budgeon's gift vouchers for fresh produce. We had more than 4,500 items of food given to us, so donated from individuals, churches, schools, businesses. This is a real help. That's 500 more items than we had in 2015. And we're always open to donations to the food bank, because it obviously means it's something we don't then have to spend the charity resources on. And as you see, when we gave out 230 bags of food in the year, the demand for the food bank is still there. So So those donations are very, very welcome, and we always would like more. Benefits remains the main reason why people get in touch. But then with grants, the second one, we gave over 13,000 in grants to individuals in the year. And then housing and debt and finance are the other things that we tend to talk to people about. Only 28% of the clients we saw were over 60, so it's a broad range of ages that we see. I think I would say that most of our clients are of working age, and many of them are in work. Something like 50% of our clients were either disabled or had health issues, as you expect, I guess. We also, as you know, we host the Citizens Advice Bureau every week, and they saw 195 clients through the year. And the situation is really symbiotic. Sometimes we get referred clients who've seen CAB first, if they can give them a small amount of advice about, say, debt, but then are able to refer them to us, and we can give them more help on benefits particularly, and work with them over a longer term. But other things like legal advice on relationships and that sort of thing, which the CAB are able to handle, which we're not. So that works really well. Sorry, excuse me.
What's he got in there, whiskey?
I'm not the Chancellor. We gave grants totaling 21,000 to organisations working in the village, so that's a huge range of scale and size. But again, all our grants are for have to be for an activity that benefits Sawston residents. And interestingly, since, because as you know, we moved into the new John Huntington Centre in the summer, and because we got more space, the number of things we're able to host there has grown. So now South Cams has moved their fortnightly advice drop-in sessions that used to be at Chapelfield Way. They've moved them to JHC. Relate offer weekly sessions there, so the Sawston residents are able to go and see Relate counsellors in the village rather than having to schlep to Cambridge. Mind in Cambridge have fortnightly sessions from the building. And also health and educational professionals who don't necessarily have an office space, they're using our spaces for meetings with clients that need to be done off their own site. So it's one of the advantages of the new building, is it enabled us to deepen our relationships with those other agencies, some of which we fund, some of which just use our facilities. As you saw from the minutes, we put in our planning application for the conversion of the old office building on Tannery Road. We should have a decision in the next week or so, and then as soon as we get that, the work will go out to tender. That's to convert that building into 2 flats. We also, you remember, we bought 2 properties, 2 old council properties on the lane. The plans for that are progressive. We wanted to get the office application in, and so we're going to do some preliminary options appraisal and probably go for a pre-app on the options for that site. As we've talked about before, the one option is to take down the existing houses and to make a larger development there.
Yes. So I think to expand on that, I mean, it was a sort of very long track negotiation, because as members will be aware, there were a number of complaints about the condition of it. The problem was that one half was a South Cams house, the other was privately owned and in a seriously derelict condition. I think that South Cams, I think, acquired it from the private owner, and then it went on as a deal. So that's one of the reasons why that site's taken so long to resolve.
Exactly. Well, and in fact,
we're very pleased that has happened.
Yes, we haven't even been able to clear the garden of the previous derelict property because it's been too much. So just so you know that we're not sitting on it. We just obviously our capacity to handle major projects is limited. So now, having finished the new centre, we'll get the Cullum House conversion underway, and then we'll start on the looking at our options for Long Lane.
Well, we look forward to receiving planning.
Indeed. Well, as I say, we'll do some consultation and pre-app first before we put in a full application. So, as ever, I think I've said this in previous reports, but as a village, we're very lucky to have the charity because we're able to pick up more and more things that are otherwise falling off the plate of statutory funders at all sorts of levels, particularly at county, I think. And the fact that we're able to help where those sort of both services and kind of direct grants mean that we're lucky. The residents are lucky that the charity exists to do that. And again, if any members want to come and see the office, come and talk to the staff about the sorts of things we do. I know a number came when we had the open day, when we opened the offices in the summer, but in November rather. But anybody who wants to come to just either get in touch directly with them or I can organise something. It would be good for everybody to know what the sorts of things we do, just so that you can refer people and know what we're up to.
Well, thank you very much, and I'd encourage members to follow up on Kieran's Thank you. Are there any questions?
I was just going to make a comment to say, thank you very much for all of that, and thank you to everyone at John Huntingdon for the support they give to the village, because I think it is very much needed, and I think it's a good reminder to us in these times about the figures, the sort of people you serve, the number of food bank parcels you give, etc. We don't often realise how much all of that is needed.
Well, and I kind of didn't say, obviously, as well as our support services, our almshouses are the main, the other leg of our activity. And so, as you'll see, when those become vacant, we advertise those, and we always have at least 10 or 15 applications for every property that comes up. So, there's a strong demand, and why we want to increase our almshouse portfolio as much as we can. Of which more and more.
Thank you very much. Okay. Can I now, for no further questions of Kieran, can I now ask him to present his county report?
Right. Well, I've actually sent 2 reports to the Parish Council today. The first one was sent about 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Where I was very doubtful whether I could actually get to tonight's meeting because the County Council was discussing this annual budget, and last year's budget setting meeting went on till 20 to 11 night, having started at 10:30. Well, today we managed to finish at 5:30, so I then rewrote the report to bring it a bit more up to date and forward it again to Anne and David and
I'm afraid I missed your second one.
So I'm reading from the second one. So there are 4 things, one of which we've already covered, and that's the Sawston Library contracted vehicles. I mean, basically what happened at the County Council today was that, well, if I can just set a little bit of background, because there's no overall political control, agenda papers are actually prepared and presented by council officers. Officers presented a draft budget to the County Council General Purposes Committee at this meeting in late January, with a view to that committee making a recommendation to today's full County Council meeting. Well, we couldn't agree at that General Purposes Committee, so there was no recommendation coming to today's meeting. So we took what was presented by officers, and there were 4 separate amendments. One was based on no increase in council tax and no social care precept. This is in order of getting larger. The second one was no increase in council tax and a 2% social care precept. The third one was 2% increase in council tax and 2% social care precept. And the final one was 2% increase in council tax and 3% social care precept. And the background to all of those is that national government says that for councils such as the county council, you can increase your council tax by no more than 2%. Unless you go to a referendum for any figure in excess of 2%. But last year they made an additional point, and that is because of social service budgets all over the country being under so much pressure, they allowed councils, in addition having a 2% maximum increase in council tax, to have a 2% social care precept. Just 2 or 3 months ago, they made another announcement about a social care precept, and that is over the next 3 years. And as they said, you can either go, if you want to, you can either go for 2% social care precept this coming year, 2% the year after, and 2% the year after that. Or you can go for 3% next year, 3% the year after that, and no increase the year after that. So that's where basically all these various proposals came from. But each of these amendments was considered in turn, and each of them was voted down. There's only one where the voting was close, and that was for no increase in council tax and a 2% social care precept. And that was actually lost by a single vote. Now, the chairman had agreed with group leaders that after going through all these, and we thought they'd all be voted down, that he would have an adjournment so that people could get together and talk to each other about the possibility of what might be able to be got through the council. So after an adjournment, we reconvened, and by 32 votes to 31, we agreed on no increase in council tax and a 2% social care precept. And that means for the typical Band D property, that will be an increase in council tax of the order of about £24–25. So that was what happened today. There are 2 other items I just want to talk about very quickly. The first of which is the A1307 City Deal Local Liaison Forum. You remember several months ago there were certain proposals put forward for a large amount of City Deal money to be spent on improving congestion issues on the A1307. And we collectively, and I individually, respond to that by saying we thought that was a very narrow vision focusing just on that road, and there needs to be a wider vision encompassing the 1301 corridor as well as the 1307. Well, the City Deal and Joint Assembly and the Executive Board will consider proposals for the A1307 at its meetings on the 1st of March and the 8th of March respectively. I don't know what's going to be said yet, but the agenda papers will be published for these meetings, and they should be on the website a fortnight before the Joint Assembly meeting. So they should be on the website either tomorrow or Thursday. And the County Council is setting up a local liaison forum to ascertain local views about these City Deal proposals. And the first 1307 local liaison forum will meet in public, and its first meeting is scheduled for 6:30 to 8:30 on Monday the 20th of February at Linton Village Hall. And I suggest certainly somebody from this parish council ought to attend, if not more than one. Yeah. So I know it's relatively short notice, but you do need to be aware of that. Make sure you get your views now. And the final thing I've got in this report is about the local highways improvements bid. David and Kevin attended the panel meeting we had a 2-day panel meeting on the 30th and 31st of January. We considered bids from a lot of parish councils in the South Country area, putting forward bids. Local panel members, which I want, couldn't score schemes in villages they represent. So I would support the Sawston scheme, but I couldn't actually score it. There are 4 of us all involved altogether, and we scored each scheme apart from that proviso. And so for most schemes where we all scored it, then our total scores were divided by 4. And the Sawston scheme where I couldn't score it, then the total scores were divided by 3 for the other members. The bids will be put in priority order and reported to the County Council's Highways and Community Infrastructure Committee meeting on the 14th of March. And again, agenda papers will be published before that meeting. They should be available a week before the meeting, and you can see what's proposed and where the cut-off point is in terms of the finance that's available for this area of the county and how many schemes come within that financial amount. Anyway, I'm hoping that the bid will be successful, and certainly I did support it at the meeting. This was for a crossing in New Road outside the village college.
Yes. As I say, there is a separate issue or related issue down there about cycling access, because we had a meeting with John Calpin on site down there about 3 weeks ago, and he, apparently since the concessionary fares are withdrawn, cycling has increased from more or less double, from 60 to about 120 a time. Janet and Neil were also there at the same time, and this creates a particular issue at the end of the school day when they also merge together. And suggestion was made that the footpath on the north side of New Road should be widened slightly and also and made effectively into a dual-use cycleway, walkway. That's only a proposal, and obviously
the last sentence here.
There would have to be there would obviously have to be a full consultation on that. So
for each successful scheme, a council officer will be assigned to that scheme.
Yes.
And the first action then will be to discuss the detail of the scheme with the parish council.
Yes.
So if there's slight modifications you want to make, that's the time to do it.
Yes.
If you're successful with the
But there is also a resident consultation as well, which it's not just done. It's not just a stitching between the county and the parish. So just making that clear. So,
Okay, so that's what's in the report. There is one other thing which I've been saying to parish councils as I've been going around to various parish council meetings in February, and that is that the county council elections are on the 4th of May, and I decided not to seek re-election, so I won't be the county councillor here after May.
Oh dear. Well, we'd like to thank you very much for time comes for your contribution over very many years, and I think to count how many there were, because it's certainly been appreciated. 30-ish, getting on for that, I think it must be 32. Yeah. 32. So
is Gail not standing again?
Gail's not standing.
Okay.
All shame was that.
Right, so that brings me to the to final item. I have one or two announcements to make myself. Kevin, first of all, I attended a meeting last Wednesday as a grant on medical practice at Sawston Health Centre, and some members may have heard already that they've already merged with Linton Practice, which has some sort of logistical sense. But they're proposing to do a further merger with Big Barley, which is quite some distance away, and I think that everyone's, the obvious questions were asked about transport and access. I think rather than have a debate here at the moment, I did ask Gerard Newland, who is the practice manager, who gave a presentation, whether he was prepared to come and address us, and he said that he would. So if members are willing, I think it's probably best to get it in the horse's mouth and second hand from me, basically. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, yeah. So if members are happy for us to do that, we'll offer the invitation. Hopefully for the next meeting. I don't think anything's likely to happen before about the middle of this year, so it's not that urgent. But I think it is something that the parish council needs to be fully briefed on, fully aware of.
The press release I saw said that they're merging the two partnerships in April 2017.
Yes, but
it's not
well, we could invite them to our next full parish council meeting. Yeah, I think that would be okay. So, as I say, I have a copy of the presentation as Gerard Newland made, which is effectively a public document. I have to make that available to the clerk and members who want it, but I think there's not a great deal of point in dealing with it out of context. So I think it's best to have Gerard here, actually.
I think that'd be really helpful
yes,
to have a representative from
yes, yeah.
practice.
Okay.
Speak to them.
The other item was that Kevin and myself attended Bailey Parish Council last Thursday. We already mentioned the speed watch. There was a query raised from this parish council about maintenance of the brook that runs behind the institute and clearance of vegetation along there, and who's responsible. It is the Environment Agency, but the work is actually done by the institute pro bono. Basically, they do it as a service to the community. They don't get paid by the Environment Agency. They probably worked out if you wait for the and also we discussed the neighbourhood plan, which I think Janet wants to say a few words about. But basically, Bayborough are prepared to meet with us to discuss doing a joint plan, but that will be obviously a very preliminary meeting. And we're trying to set up a meeting at the moment, probably sometime in around about the middle of March.
We've had a response from Stuart to the invite, the latest
Oh,
one.
have we? That
Yes,
was
I saw something
sorry.
on my phone.
Yes. I think, as I say, we also want to have negotiations with Pembroke, but Bayborough is key because the boundary runs through one of the local plan sites, and we can't really contemplate a neighbourhood plan at this stage unless we have the cooperation of Bayborough.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to say something now?
Yes,
about
yes,
the
yes,
meeting? Yes, we met. If you remember, the Full Parish Council asked a subgroup to meet and essentially kick off the discussions on the neighbourhood plan, and we met on the 3rd of February. We discussed our terms of reference, essentially, which are within the guidance for neighbourhood planning, which is about starting the process of neighbourhood planning and to engage and work, and this bit is very important, with the local community in the development of the neighbourhood plan. So there is a piece of work that needs to be done before we get to the first stage, which is about the proposals on the boundaries and the definition of boundaries, which is about seeking support from within the village. And then the other area of our terms of reference is to ensure the consent of local people is secured at all stages in accordance with requirements. So it's quite important to be clear on that. So in terms of action plan, yes, our first step is to meet with Abraham to try and see what common ground we have, particularly as this may be helpful with the definition of the boundaries, to identify any concerns and to look at advantages and disadvantages of the two villages going forward with the neighbourhood plan. And I think the current date at the moment we're looking at is about 16th of March. Yes, so it's not long away. And then Pampisford, subsequent to where we know the position with Bakerham, we can then look at Pampisford, because obviously that is very close proximity as well. We also had a sort of a brainstorming discussion about examples of what could be in the neighbourhood plan. Obviously, given that what is in the neighbourhood plan has to be driven by the local community, what the local community want. But for our own benefit, we did do a bit of work about what might it include. So if anyone is having discussions with their neighbours, friends, etc., then we've got some idea of what may be in that plan. Yes.
Are you aware of a piece of research that was done probably 10 years ago now called Plan Sawston, which was the village wide questionnaire that presented results?
10 years ago it was
It was quite a while. I can put you in touch with the people who ran it, and I've got copies of the questionnaire and results from that, which might provide a useful starting point.
Yeah, certainly would. Yeah, that would be. Thank you.
And really, just to confirm what Janet was saying, that although the parish council can be catalysts, they can, initiate the process. It's got to be resident driven.
Yes.
Oh yes, yes.
And that should be made clear to everybody, because without the support of the residents, including volunteers with skill sets and so on, the neighbourhood plan won't happen. So we need people that are interested in creating the destiny of the village over even the next 10 to 20 years.
I think I was raising that too, because I just think if you start trying to include them too late in the process, if you've done your exciting brainstorming sessions before they get involved, it's a disincentive to get involved.
Yes, I mean, at the moment we're just establishing parameters, because in order to work out, we can't, as I say, we can't really proceed at the moment without Bayborough, because of this issue with the particularly site H1C, which the boundary runs straight down the middle of. Anyway, I'm aware of the time, so I'm sure we can deal with this in greater detail in another forum. So I'll go around the table. So Kevin?
I've got a couple of things. We need to arrange a site visit down Princess Drive, because it's just literally falling apart again. And I'm getting lots of residents down there now moaning. I'm sure Mr. Fellow over there is quite aware of the situation down there. There's been complaints about litter on the high street being a bit high. Must have been looking into that. The other thing as well, which I would have thought Charlie would have taken the opportunity, was to mention the new cycleway that was opened last Friday. We all attended. It's to running through. Can you give us the exact route, Tony?
You didn't cycle it, though, Kev.
Cycle it. It goes through the grounds of Bayborough.
I didn't cycle it, no.
Sorry, I did.
Did you?
And it runs from the gateway, from the entrance to Babraham Institute. It goes along the perimeter and exits at the gated house or adjacent to the 1307. And he's very lovely. And even goes on a little detour around the tree roots of one of the trees that is on the site.
And it's also going to be joined with the bridle way, isn't it? Joint bridle way.
It's a bridle way as well. There were ponies there.
There have been some issues raised from it though, and that is at the Bateman end, the roundabout end of the Bateman Institute, is the safety aspect of crossing the road. A lot of people have come forward. And I did forward you an email today regarding that, and also Bateman Parish Council raised that, as you're fully aware. I think that's something that we really need to be looking into, because I think you get a much higher use if you had that.
Come along to the local liaison forum meeting on Monday. That's exactly the position. It's going to be considered the Shoki next time.
The other one is you mentioned the local liaison, and I don't know if Brian was going to mention this, but Sorwell, are you going to bring that up, that it's up and running?
I mentioned, yes, we had the second meeting, which was the first formal meeting of Shelford and Whittlesford Railway Rail Users Group, which is all about trying to maximise the rail line and facilities, basically from the junction where it goes off to Royston One Way and further south, and the border down at Great Chesterford. And these have been quite successful elsewhere, in Foxton, for example. So we're going ahead with that. If anybody's interested, let me know and I'll give you details.
Thank you.
That's it?
Right, Russian.
No. One thing. I believe that the Lotus House is reopened. Do you know why it closed?
What the what, sorry?
Lotus House.
Yes, I think it was a change in lease, but they're operating now.
I must have mentioned Speedwatch. You've already done one bit, haven't you? We were about to do a leaflet drop, but the design of that may change now. We may have Baylor on board, so hopefully by next meeting that'll be sorted.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing from me, thanks.
Can I just ask about phone box?
Yes.
One of the redundant ones, which was coming out and being given to the Chalice Trust. But that was a couple of years ago, and it's still ongoing, I guess.
I wasn't here 2 years ago.
It's unfortunate you're there.
I
think we'll need to defer that question to Jo. As you know, she's on
I was asked
this week.
I was asked to bring it up, so...
Yeah, okay, so that's noted, the question's noted. Rob?
Yeah, just that I was made aware recently on the Sawston History Facebook group, there's a book called Round the Pump, which is a history of Parish Council in Sawston. And the Parish Council doesn't actually own a copy, but I know several people who do.
Yes.
I was going to suggest as an agenda item for next time we get in contact with somebody and see if we can purchase a copy, because it's about the history of the village and I don't see why the Parish Council shouldn't own its own history.
They actually have a library of village history books, don't they? Isn't that down to the village history?
Well, yes.
Because I asked if there was a copy available and there wasn't.
I've got a copy and I thought it was written by several people.
It was actually, yes, it was. Yes.
Parish Clerk. Tony Clark.
There is a copy available. Oh, I saw that there wasn't. Okay.
I'm sure we had a copy.
She bought it from her life.
Yes. Well, whilst we're on the subject, members might also be interested to know there's a book called Living with the Flood, which is a full assessment of the excavations that took place on Borough Hill, which is a site underneath Spices. You know the site is currently occupied, or was occupied by Spices, is an Iron Age fort. I won't say hill fort because it's very high. It's quite an important site. It's one of only three in the East Anglia, and there are Bronze Age, Iron Age, and also Roman levels in there. It's quite an interesting read actually. It's called Living with the Flood. I'll give you the full ISBN when I get home, but I don't carry it around in my head. Okay, Tony.
Yeah, if they don't arrive by the end of this meeting, I think we ought to go back to...
We will do, yes, we will do, yes,
and ask them to come up and next time.
Yes, we will do, yes, yeah.
Come to next.
Yeah, a couple of things. Tony, when are you leaving? Water bottom back with you.
Your swan song.
They've made a good job of putting a gully in.
Good.
The only problem is, instead of me being able to paddle across the road, I have to swim now because it's got deeper.
Okay.
Right. Now the thing is, unless you do the exit of the drain that goes across the road, the people who are putting in for the warehousing, they're going to get the warehousing up, and we're still going to get left with the water. That wants to be, even if the council go down there with a couple of 3 spades, just to make a gully so that water escapes into where the landowners promised the water will go. That is essential that that's done pretty quickly because they're on about altering the road entrance to that place.
What I've written down is maybe Brian Heffernan's the person who's been dealing with it. Maybe if I get him out with you on site and so you can say exactly what you wanted to.
Before we continue this discussion, we're getting very close to time. We have to approve a short reserved matter minute after this, so I'm going to have to ask for an extension of time.
Even though it's only a minute that noted the previous minutes.
Well, by the time people have left, yes.
No, but I'm just thinking, do we need to approve that minute? Because otherwise we'll have a reserved matter minute noting the minutes of the previous one. Because all that minute says.
I know it does, I know.
So I don't think we have to. We don't have to approve it.
All it says is we approve the previous one.
Once we finish thinking about this.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Yes, I think that's probably correct actually, yeah. But I think, if this discussion is going to go on, we'll need an extension of time.
The zebra crossings down Baden Road. I noticed a week or 10 days ago, you cannot see the beacon flashing. I said to Jo about it, and she's had word with somebody obviously, and they put shades around the new one Yeah. But that doesn't make any difference. I think there's somebody nipping that wire, so there's not enough electricity going up the chute to light that bulb. They're very, very pale, and when the sun comes up from the east and up till midday, you cannot see those lights. Yeah, if they could do something, make a clearer bulb or something.
The French traffic lights on it, you never see those actually.
Well, I mean, on the campus and that, you've got these lights which are a lot brighter than what they are on that zebra crossing.
Right, okay. Yes, I think we're going to have to ask for additional time from That's pretty urgent.
Okay, very quickly, I'll just express my disappointment that I think for the second year in a row we've had a 0% rise in the general precept from the county council, and we've had cuts from the central government grant.
This is really, you think restricted to the council business, please? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, yes, okay.
In the report.
Yes, it was actually. Okay.
So, and before it says 21, 20, can we have an update? Can the clerks get us an update from the Barclay site from St. Mary's?
Yeah.
And also the other development? Yeah, sure.
We can try.
But if we can ask, at least we seem to be interested. And the Manor Homes development behind Mill Lane, we haven't heard of either.
That's the one on the other side.
I'm missing.
Registered social landlord. Because for the affordable housing, in order to fulfil the affordable housing condition on the reserve matters application, they have to be able to demonstrate an agreement with a registered social landlord.
Thank you.
Okay. Right, so at that point we're exactly at 1:30. So I'll close the meeting.
Close the meeting.
Okay.